You're sitting there, lost in your own mind, as thoughts race through like a fast-moving train. One moment, you're reliving a memory. The next, you're planning tomorrow, only to find yourself worrying about something that hasn't even happened yet. Feels endless, doesn't it? A constant stream of chatter you can't seem to turn off. But here's the thing. Have you ever really stopped to wonder where these thoughts come from? They appear so naturally, so automatically, that it's easy to believe they're simply you. Yet, if you pay attention, something fascinating begins to surface. When you think, it's almost as if there's a voice speaking in your mind. Sometimes it's kind, encouraging. Other times it's harsh, critical, even overwhelming. And yet, through it all, there's another presence, a quieter one. It doesn't speak. It doesn't judge. It simply listens. That's the question we don't ask enough. Who's listening? If you can hear your thoughts, then you're not just the one thinking them, are you? This isn't a riddle or a philosophical trick. It's a doorway to understanding something profound about yourself. Because what if those thoughts, as familiar as they feel, are not entirely who you are? What if they're just a tool, an amazing, complicated, and sometimes frustrating tool, but still separate from the essence of you? The mystery of thoughts isn't just about their origin. It's about their power. Thoughts shape how you see the world, how you feel, how you act. And yet, they flow like a river, often unchecked, rarely questioned. The real mystery is this: if you're not fully aware of them, who's really in control, you or the voice in your head? Picture yourself in a grand theater, lights dimmed, a hush falling over the audience. The screen comes alive, and suddenly, you're drawn into a story. Every detail is vivid, the characters, the drama, the twists. You feel it all. Excitement, fear, joy, even heartbreak. But then something starts to break the spell. A voice, soft at first, begins whispering. Why is she doing that? He should have chosen a different path. That ending doesn't make sense. The whispers grow louder, pulling your focus from the story unfolding on the screen. You're no longer immersed. Instead, you're distracted by commentary that wasn't invited but refuses to stop. This is what the mind does every single day. Plays the role of both the projector and the critic. In one moment, it creates a narrative, your life story, full of hopes, worries, plans, regrets. Then, without pause, it narrates over it, adding opinions, judgments, and what-ifs. It doesn't matter whether the scene is joyful or painful. The voice insists on analyzing, questioning, explaining. And you sit in the audience, caught somewhere between the story and the critic, unsure where to focus. But here's a question you might not have considered. What if the voice isn't as important as it seems? What if its commentary isn't the truth, but just noise? The theater of the mind is a fascinating place. It can create entire worlds, craft memories, and project futures. Yet the voice within it, the one that insists on controlling the narrative, often pulls you away from the magic of simply watching. When was the last time you experienced life without that internal commentator taking over? What would happen if, for once, you let the story unfold without interruption? Close your eyes and listen not to the noise around you, but to the voice within. It's always there, narrating, planning, judging. Sometimes it tells you stories about the past, reliving moments as if they could be changed. Other times, it leaps ahead, spinning scenarios of what could happen tomorrow. It's relentless, isn't it? But if you pause for just a moment and truly pay attention, something remarkable becomes clear. There's another presence. It's quiet, steady, and unshakable. It doesn't comment. It doesn't take sides. It simply watches. This is the silent observer, the part of you that exists beyond the thoughts and the voice. While the mind chatters endlessly, this observer remains still, noticing everything without interference. Think about the last time you felt overwhelmed by your thoughts. Were you aware of something deeper, a calm awareness beneath the storm? That wasn't the voice in your head. That was you, the real you. This silent presence isn't something you have to create. It's not something you can lose. It's always there, quietly observing everything the mind does, like the sky that holds every passing cloud. The mind tries to take center stage, convincing you that its thoughts are who you are. But the observer knows better. It knows that thoughts are just passing phenomena, temporary and fleeting. And once you connect with this quiet part of yourself, you begin to see the voice for what it truly is. Just noise. When you stop identifying with the voice and rest in the observer, something incredible happens. The chaos of the mind starts to fade, and a deeper sense of peace takes its place. You realize you're not the storm, you're the one watching it. There's a cage, invisible but undeniable. It's built with thoughts, layer upon layer of beliefs, fears, and stories you've been telling yourself for as long as you can remember. This prison isn't made of walls or bars, yet it holds you tighter than any physical constraint ever could. Every what if, every I should have, every doubt whispered by your mind becomes another bar in this mental cage. Convinces you that you're stuck, that there's no way out. You replay moments from the past, as if rewinding the tape will change what's already happened. Or you obsess over a future that hasn't arrived, trying to predict every move, every possible outcome. And the worst part? The mind makes it all feel real. You're not locked in by anything tangible, only by the power you've given to these thoughts. They pull you away from the present moment, dragging you into cycles of regret and worry. But here's the truth. The cage isn't real. It's an illusion, held together by the belief that your thoughts define you. What happens when you stop believing every thought that crosses your mind? What happens when you step back and see the cage for what it truly is? A creation of your own mind. The key to freedom has always been in your hands. It starts with realizing that you are not your thoughts. You're the one who hears them, the one who can choose whether to act on them or let them go. The moment you see the cage, it begins to crumble. The bars lose their strength and the walls start to fade. You're no longer a prisoner. You're the observer, free to step out into a world untouched by the endless chatter of the mind. There's a space within you that the noise of the world can never touch. It's vast, still, and unchanging. While the mind creates endless stories and distractions, this space remains, patiently waiting for you to notice it. Silence isn't just the absence of sound. It's the presence of something deeper, a calm awareness that exists beneath every thought, every emotion, every moment of chaos. It's not empty. It's alive, vibrant, and full of possibility. The mind resists silence. It wants to fill every moment with noise, to keep you entangled in its stories. Tells you silence is boring, unproductive, even uncomfortable. But when you stop fighting and allow yourself to rest in that quiet space, something extraordinary begins to unfold. Peace isn't something you have to chase. It's not found in the next achievement or the next solution to your problems. It's here, now, in the stillness that exists between one thought and the next. Close your eyes and listen, not to the voice in your head, but to the silence that holds it all. That silence is your anchor, your home, your truest self. It's where you find the freedom to simply be, without judgment, without fear, without the need to prove anything. In the heart of that silence lies a profound truth. You are not the noise of your mind. You are the stillness that watches it. And when you connect with that stillness, peace isn't something you seek. It's something you become. There's a voice in your head. You know it well. It's the one that never stops. Comments on everything you do, everything you see, and everything you feel. Sometimes it cheers you on, whispers encouragement, and gives you the confidence to take a leap. But other times it turns on you. You'll never be good enough. What if it all goes wrong? Why did you even try? This voice feels like it knows you better than anyone else. It speaks in your tone, uses your memories, and plays on your fears. It's so convincing, so familiar, that it's easy to mistake it for the truth. But here's the question. Is this voice your enemy or your ally? The answer depends on how you relate to it. When you believe everything it says, the voice can become a tyrant, dragging you into cycles of doubt, fear, and overthinking. It critiques every step you take, making the simplest decisions feel like monumental struggles. But when you step back and observe the voice for what it really is, a function of the mind, it loses its grip on you. You start to see that it's not all-knowing. It's just a tool like a compass that sometimes points true and sometimes spins wildly. The inner voice isn't inherently bad. It's trying to protect you, to help you navigate life. It's just that it doesn't always know the best way to do that. When you take the role of the observer instead of the follower, you gain the power to decide which parts of the voice to listen to and which to let go. The voice doesn't define you. It's not your identity. It's just a sound in the background, like a narrator trying to make sense of the story. And the moment you realize that you're no longer at its mercy, instead you become its master. Think about the last time a wave of emotion hit you out of nowhere. Maybe it was a sudden sadness, an inexplicable frustration, or a sharp pang of fear. Felt immediate, didn't it? As though it was tied to this very moment. But often it wasn't. Emotions are rarely just reactions to the present. They carry echoes of the past, remnants of moments you've lived, lessons you've learned, and wounds you've endured. They resurface, uninvited, and speak with the weight of every memory they're tied to. That anger you felt when someone spoke sharply to you, perhaps it wasn't just about their words. It might have been the voice of an old hurt, triggered by a moment long forgotten. That fear that kept you from moving forward? It may have its roots in a failure you experienced years ago, whispering that history could repeat itself. Emotions are powerful, but they're not the whole story. They are like waves on the surface of the ocean, shaped by winds that have long since passed. They rise and fall, crest and break, and often pull you into their current. But what if you could see them for what they are? Not enemies to fight or forces to obey, but signals, messengers from the past, asking to be acknowledged. When you meet your emotions with curiosity instead of resistance, you begin to uncover their source. That sadness? It may be asking for closure. That frustration? Perhaps it's pointing to a boundary that needs to be set. When you listen to these echoes with compassion, they begin to lose their grip on you. You are not your emotions. You are the vast, still ocean beneath them. And when the waves settle, you'll find clarity, a quiet understanding that allows you to live fully in the present, unburdened by the weight of what's already gone. How often do you find yourself gripping tightly to the reins of life, as if every detail depends on your careful management? You plan, strategize, anticipate every possible outcome, convinced that if you can just control enough, everything will go perfectly. But it rarely does it? Control feels like safety, feels like certainty. Yet the more you try to hold on, the more life slips through your fingers, like sand refusing to be contained. Every unexpected twist, every disruption to your carefully laid plans, feels like failure. Frustration builds, anxiety grows, and the weight of trying to keep it all together becomes unbearable. The truth is, control is an illusion. The world doesn't bend to your will, no matter how carefully you plan or how hard you try. There are too many variables, too many unknowns. Life moves according to its own rhythm, indifferent to the grip you have on it. But what if letting go didn't mean losing control? What if it meant freedom? Letting go isn't about giving up. It's about trusting the flow of life, knowing that not everything needs to be forced into place. It's about acting where you can and surrendering where you must. Like a sailor adjusting their sails to the wind, you can navigate life without fighting it. Every time you release the need to control, you lighten your load. You breathe easier. You start to notice things you were too busy to see before. The beauty of the moment, the unexpected opportunities that arise when you're not forcing outcomes. Control is heavy, but trust is light. When you let go of the need to manage every detail, you open yourself to a life that flows effortlessly. Not because it's perfect, but because you've learned how to ride the current instead of swimming against it. There's a moment when something shifts. It's not dramatic or loud, but subtle, like a door quietly opening. You notice it when the constant chatter of your mind begins to fade into the background. For the first time, you're not chasing thoughts, not running from emotions, not grasping for control. You're just here. In that stillness, something profound becomes clear. You've been free all along. The prison you thought you were in, the endless loop of thoughts, the weight of emotions, the need to control was never real. It was a shadow, a trick of the mind. This awakening isn't about escaping life's challenges. The storms will still come, but you're no longer defined by them. You see yourself as the sky, vast and unchanging, while the clouds of thoughts and feelings pass by. With this freedom comes a lightness, a joy that isn't tied to circumstances. You no longer need to cling to what's fleeting or fear what's uncertain. You're rooted in something deeper, something unshakable. This is the essence of inner freedom, not the absence of struggle, but the ability to meet life with openness and grace. It's the understanding that you are not bound by the stories your mind tells or the emotions that arise. Every breath becomes a reminder of this truth. Every moment is an invitation to rest in the stillness that's always been within you. And as you awaken to this freedom, you realize it's not something you've gained. It's something you've remembered, something that's been with you all along, waiting for you to see it. The path you've been walking isn't one with a clear destination. It doesn't end in a sudden revelation or a moment where everything becomes perfect. Instead, it unfolds step by step, with each breath, each moment of awareness. You've come to see that the voice in your mind isn't the master, that emotions don't define you, and that the need for control is a weight you don't have to carry. You've touched the silence within, the stillness that has always been there, waiting patiently for your return. But this isn't the end of the story, it's just the beginning. The journey of living with presence, of embracing the truth of who you are, is one that lasts a lifetime. There will be days when the noise of the mind grows louder, when the storms of life threaten to pull you back into old patterns. And yet, you'll know something now that you didn't before. You are not the chaos. You are the calm in the center of it all. Every day is a chance to deepen this understanding, to practice letting go, and to reconnect with the freedom that resides within. It's not about getting it right all the time. It's about noticing, about gently returning to yourself when you drift away. As you walk forward, carry this truth with you. The journey isn't about becoming something new. It's about uncovering who you've always been. And as long as you keep taking one step, no matter how small, you're already exactly where you're meant to be.